Synergy is what happens when 1 plus 1 equals 10 or 100 or even 1,000. It's the profound result when two or more respectful human beings determine to go beyond their preconceived ideas to meet a great challenge. See Stephen R. Covey, Habit 6, Synergize, the power of creative collaboration. I'm an entrepreneur, but I wasn't always an effective one. In my early years, I thought success meant having the best ideas myself and pushing my way forward. Back then, I even recall skimming Stephen Covey's chapter on Synergize and thinking it was a nice idea in theory, but unrealistic in the cutthroat startup world. I couldn't have been more wrong. Compromise, when I bothered to attempt it, felt like a loss, like watering down my vision. It took time and some humbling experiences to truly understand what Stephen Covey meant by synergy, where the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. I had to learn that 1 can equal 3 or more when people genuinely collaborate. And I learned it the hard way, through personal trials and eye-opening moments that changed the way I lead. From conflict to collaboration. One of my most vivid lessons in synergy came a few years ago. I was heading a critical project at my startup, developing a new product under a tight deadline. I had a clear vision of how it should be done, and I was determined to see it through my way. My lead engineer, David, had a very different idea, almost the opposite approach to solving our design problem. We were both passionate and stubborn. Meetings turned into quiet tug-of-wars. He championed one strategy, I championed another. At first, it felt like a stalemate, and I secretly wondered if we'd ever agree. The deadline was looming, and I could feel the weight of our project's success on my shoulders. The tension in the room was palpable, the kind of friction that keeps you up at night second-guessing your decisions. For a while, I tried to compromise. I figured if I gave up a little and he gave up a little, we could at least move forward. But the results were uninspired. We ended up with a halfway solution that neither of us loved: a classic compromise. It reminded me of Covey's warning that compromise is often just a low form of cooperation, where 1 plus 1 equals 1.5 at best. Indeed, our compromise left value on the table. We both felt it, that nagging sense that we hadn't truly solved the problem, only settled for a mediocre piece. Frustrated, I knew something had to change. The breakthrough began not in another heated debate, but in a moment of quiet reflection. I remembered Habit 5, Covey's advice to seek first to understand, then to be understood. Up until then, I had been hearing David's words but not truly listening. That day I walked into his office and simply asked him to explain his vision from scratch. No interruptions, no counter-arguments, just me genuinely trying to see the problem through his eyes. What happened next felt almost magical. As he spoke, I began to grasp insights in his approach that I'd missed before. I could see the creative spark in his idea and how much thought he'd poured into it. Meanwhile, he also gave me the courtesy of hearing my full perspective. Instead of arguing over whose idea was better, we started brainstorming how both ideas might integrate or inspire a completely new solution. It was as if we'd opened a door to a third path, a solution neither of us had considered alone. The energy in our brainstorming session shifted from defensive to electric. We sketched on the whiteboard side by side, each adding something the other lacked, building off one another's thoughts. By the end of that afternoon, we had crafted a design far superior to either of our original proposals. We both sat back, looking at our collaborative creation on the board, and shared a grin of amazement. That was the moment I felt synergy in action, an exhilarating mix of relief, excitement, and a touch of awe at what we'd accomplished together. The final product we developed was a hit far more innovative and robust than if either of us had forced through our initial plan. In fact, that design solved not only the problem at hand, but also introduced a unique feature that became a selling point for our product. It was something extraordinary we likely would never have achieved individually. By truly collaborating, by saying, let's find our way, instead of my way or your way, we unlocked an outcome that genuinely exceeded the sum of our parts. Valuing differences, the heart of synergy. That experience changed me as a leader. I finally grasped the essence of what Covey taught. The highest form of teamwork comes from valuing differences, not just tolerating them. In the past, I had merely tolerated differences at best, or ignored them at worst, seeing them as hurdles or annoyances. Now I understood that those very differences could be our greatest asset, the leverage for true innovation. David and I were different in so many ways: our backgrounds, our problem-solving styles, even our personalities. Earlier, those differences felt like roadblocks. But once we both respected and embraced those differences, they became our superpower. I realized strength lies in differences, not in similarities. Goodreads. Calm. Our contrasting ideas weren't a threat to my vision. They were the key to improving it. Covey often illustrated synergy with examples from nature, and now I understand why. In nature, synergy is everywhere if you know where to look. If you plant two plants close together, sometimes the roots intermingle and improve the soil for each other, so both plants thrive better than they would alone. If you put two pieces of wood together, they'll bear much more weight than each could separately. The principle is the same with people. When we truly cooperate, when we honor each other's unique strengths and compensate for each other's weaknesses, we create something like a force of nature. It's powerful and a little bit mysterious. I've come to see these moments of creative cooperation as the lifeblood of innovation and excellence in any organization. But let's be candid, synergy isn't easy or comfortable at first. By its very nature, it can be messy, unpredictable, even risky. It requires vulnerability, the willingness to admit that my way may not be the best way, and that I alone don't have all the answers. In that project with David, I had to drop my ego and really trust my colleague. He had to do the same with me. That level of trust and openness is what creates a safe space for wild ideas and honest feedback. Covey was right. Without high trust, synergy is impossible, because people will hold back their best ideas or refuse to budge from their positions. Looking back, I see that building trust was an essential step before our big breakthrough. We had to believe in each other's positive intent and competence, or we never would have dared to blend our ideas so freely. The synergy effect, extraordinary outcomes. Together, when true synergy happens, the outcome can feel nearly miraculous. After that success with David, I became almost addicted to the synergy effect. I started applying the same collaborative mindset in other areas of my business and life. Instead of dreading meetings where opinions diverged, I began to welcome diversity of thought. I actively assembled teams with a mix of talents, backgrounds, and viewpoints, even if I knew it might spark debate. In fact, because I knew it would spark debate. I remembered Covey's simple equation, 1, 1, 3, 10, or even 1,000, when respectful, creative minds work together. I wanted to see how far we could push that idea. The results were remarkable. Success stories started piling up as I intentionally fostered synergy in our workplace. One instance stands out clearly: our marketing and product development teams. Two groups that historically butted heads came together for a strategy workshop. At first, it was the usual story. Marketing wanted one thing, product development wanted another. Old habits kicked in and the room grew tense, and I sensed the familiar signs of an impending standoff. But this time I tried something different. I opened the discussion by sharing the story of how David and I had discovered a third alternative. I laid down a ground rule that we weren't leaving until we found an our-way solution that excited everyone. The transformation was slow but steady. Skepticism gave way to curiosity as each side really listened to the other. By the end of the day, not only did we create a cohesive strategy that integrated ideas from both teams, But we also discovered a completely new market opportunity in the process. You could feel the collective pride as it dawned on us that we'd achieved something none of us could have created alone. It was synergy at work again, multiplying our individual strengths into an outcome none of us could have anticipated. Moments like that became almost addictive for me as a leader, each success reinforcing the belief that creative collaboration was becoming a driving force in our culture. I've also witnessed synergy transcend business and enter the realm of personal relationships. A few months ago, my spouse and I were planning a major life change, moving to a new city for better opportunities. We had very different priorities about the move. I was focused on career prospects, while my spouse was concerned about community and quality of life. Initially, we were at odds, each convinced the other wasn't seeing the full picture. It was a tense moment. Each of us worried that giving in would mean sacrificing something important to us. The discussion could have easily become a win-lose scenario or a half-hearted compromise, perhaps picking a city that satisfied neither fully. Instead, we took a step back and applied the same synergistic mindset. We listed out what we each truly wanted and why. In doing so, we uncovered a third option. A location we hadn't seriously considered before, that offered exciting career opportunities and a vibrant community atmosphere. That choice turned out to be the best decision for both of us, far exceeding what either of our original ideas would have given. It was another reminder that whether in business partnerships, team projects, or personal relationships, synergy is the driving force behind extraordinary outcomes. Even beyond my own experiences, history is full of proof that synergy drives greatness. Consider the partnership of Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Jobs was the visionary marketer and Wozniak the technical genius, and together they built one of the world's most iconic tech companies, Faster Capital. Their complementary strengths created something neither could have achieved alone. Stories like theirs reinforce my belief that behind so many extraordinary successes lies the magic of creative collaboration. A call to action: embrace synergy in your life. Reflecting on these experiences, I'm struck by how easily we settle for less when we don't pursue synergy. We settle for compromise or for my way or your way thinking, and we miss the opportunity for a creative breakthrough. The core message of Habit 6, Synergize, is a challenge to all of us. Value the differences in those around you and look for the third alternative that will elude any one person alone. It's a call to believe that together we can create something greater, something new and unexpected. In your own life, where could synergy make a difference? Perhaps at work, you have a colleague who always disagrees with you. Consider that maybe within those disagreements lies the seed of a brilliant solution that neither of you would germinate alone. Maybe at home, you and a family member see a situation from opposite sides. Instead of debating who's right, try pooling your ideas and brainstorming without judgment, just to see what emerges. It might surprise you. Synergy starts with a mindset of humility and curiosity. Humble because you acknowledge others might contribute something you lack, and curious because you genuinely want to explore those contributions. Start by listening more intently and speaking more courageously. Encourage the quiet voices on your team to speak up and show the strong voices how to listen. When tension arises, remind everyone and yourself that the goal is not to win but to create. Keep Covey's words in mind. Synergy is better than my way or your way. It is our way. I invite you to apply this habit starting today. For example, choose a current challenge you're facing at work or in your personal life where multiple viewpoints exist. Bring everyone to the table. Encourage each person to share their perspective openly and make a pact together that you'll look for a creative, win-win solution for all. Brainstorm a third alternative, suspend judgment, and let ideas flow freely. Listen deeply to one another, Combine your strengths and keep going until you find an approach you all feel excited about. It may take patience and it will certainly take courage, but the result could be transformative. Remember, the highest reward of synergy is not just the amazing outcome it produces, but the relationships of trust and creativity it builds along the way. When you experience that kind of creative cooperation, you don't just solve a problem, you kindle a spark that can spread to every other endeavor you undertake. Habit 6. Synergize has taught me to treasure the people around me, especially the ones who think differently than I do. It has shown me that every voice has value, and that when we genuinely collaborate, we tap into a well of innovation and excellence that simply doesn't exist in isolation. This habit transformed my leadership and my relationships. My hope is that it will do the same for you. Now it's your turn. Embrace the power of synergy in your own life. Approach your next interaction or challenge with the mindset that together is better, and that by valuing each other's differences, you can collaborate your way to something extraordinary. That is the promise of synergy, and it's waiting for you to make it a reality. Let's create our way forward starting now.